All right. Looks like we're going to kick things off. It's 2 minutes past our starting time. So delighted to be here. My name is Satish Shenoy. Most of you know me, but I just want to introduce myself. I lead technology alliances and AI go-to-market for SS&C Blue Prism. Delighted to be here and more delighted to have our customers join us. Roopa from L3 Harris, Hussam from BDC, and Jesse, I do see Jesse from Alberta Health Services. So delighted to have them all here. And today it's going to be a panel style discussion talking about AI traction that a lot of these customers have. These are loyal, long-standing customers in most cases. And so really delighted to have them. Thanks for taking the time, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with introductions. Can you please take a minute to introduce yourself and your role? Tell us how long have you've been working with Blue Prism? And we will start with Hussam. Is it you wanted to go first? Yes?
Yeah, sure. I can start. So
we can't hear you.
You hear me now? Yep. All right. So as I was saying, I'm Hussam Gaoro. I'm the head of the intelligent automation practice here at BDC. I've been working with Blue Prism for 8+ years. Started off in consulting in Canada, a bit more in the US, then came back here and started this journey at BDC to build a center of excellence. And now 5 years down the road, we have a lot of great accomplishments. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Perfect. Hussam, thank you. Roopa, how about you?
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Roopa Parekh. I lead the enterprise automation team here at L3 Harris. I'm in this position for about 3 years now, and the Center of Excellence at L3 Harris is in place for, I should say, 6+ years, since 2019. So yeah, we are on Blue Prism for a long time.
Perfect. Thanks, Roopa. And then last but certainly not least, everybody knows Jesse, almost everybody, but he's been with Blue Prism for some time too. So Jesse, over to you.
My name is Jesse Tutt, and I work for lead the intelligent automation team here at Alberta Health Services, which has now been renamed, has been separated into multiple companies. So I now work for Health Shared Services. But regardless, I lead the intelligent automation team. I've been using Blue Prism for 4 years now. And we have about 50 automations or so in production.
Perfect, Jesse. Thank you. Maybe we'll just start with you, Jesse. We've seen a lot of press lately talking about how organizations are struggling to scale their AI projects, right? The MIT study, and there's been more. For your organization, what was the catalyst that made AI usage even a reality? And, tell us a little bit about that approach you took, etc.
Sure. One of our more recent automations, I guess one of the more edgy ones, is a automation which we call knee MRI rejection. And the business problem was simply that we had literally 4,000 people on the backlog to get an MRI. And an MRI is basically this procedure that looks in your knee, simply oversimplifying. We saw an 8% increase in demand a couple of years ago. This year, a similar rise, and so these things are being a lot more prevalently requested. The number of requests is staggering, and especially with an aging population, it will continue to rise. And so there was a huge problem of demand. The system couldn't keep up with it, and we needed a solution. So we end up implementing an automation here a few weeks ago that looks in the patient record, checks it to see if the person meets the minimum requirements, meaning is there a clinical benefit to doing the actual procedure? And if there is, great, we proceed with it. But if we don't, the Blue Prism automation, which literally opens up Epic in our case, runs checks the results using OpenAI, which in itself is literally diagnosing the patient checks it for 15 different things that would typically take a radiologist half an hour, which are very expensive resources, kind of in the $400 an hour range. And ultimately it provides a recommendation in the system to reject the MRI. Now, behind the scenes, it's early stages and we'll see where this lands, but the original estimates were that we would be able to free up 10% of the capacity of the system for that procedure by simply just adding this logic to check for this rejection logic. Lo and behold, we've been able to actually free up, as of the first 2 weeks, 26%. So 1 in 4 of these procedures, the patients were having to give up a day of work and get to the hospital. And then we had to basically use this extremely expensive equipment and expensive resources to go through it. And ultimately, that was probably the biggest driver for using AI, not just in like the common use cases, basically, summarizing all those standard things which we do, but actually looking at patients and using AI to provide really detailed, thoughtful clinical diagnoses at an extremely high level, I would add, in the clinical system. So, and then ultimately providing recommendations to a human, which of course, we're still a big fan of human-centered AI, but that's probably the biggest one and the more edgier one that we've done.
So Jesse, just a quick follow-up, right? What was the AI portion that you couldn't do before? Can you just expand on that? I know
Sure.
what you did, but
Yeah.
I think
So
it would be beneficial. Yeah.
As you can imagine, physicians are a bit of a different breed and extremely smart. And there's so many different, languages and different things that basically contribute to people coming here. And being a physician, and we have thousands of physicians. And so to be able to look through these results and actually figure out what the heck they're actually saying wasn't possible. And simply, when you look at things like, let's just say osteoarthritis, we were initially trying to write code to do that. And so we would say, oh, do you see anything that looks like osteoarthritis? Of course, we started looking and they were short forming it, OA, as an example. And then they would write no OA, NaOA. And I'm just going through a few of them, but the short answer is you can't standardize people. And that's just the simple truth. And there is no way to programmatically go through every single variant of every single permutation of what people say in common language, because you'll never get it without AI. And so that's, for us, just understanding language in a way that, and to be precise, clinical language written by a physician. And there's no code that can do that. You have to use AI. And so that's really the enabler. And behind the scenes, this has triggered multiple more automations of a similar vein to understand these physician notes, because nobody else can. Yeah. At least in code. And maybe some people can't when they're actually reading it themselves, but that's, yeah.
My mom used to say my handwriting is doctor's handwriting. She was hoping for something great someday. Anyway.
Leading.
Roopa, over to you. I know you have something completely different, so go ahead, please tell us about your reality.
Yeah. So I know, for all of you on the call, one of the biggest struggle must be unstructured data processing anytime it comes to any project, whether it's RPA or it's something else you're building. When you come across the unstructured data, like Jesse said, doctor's handwriting, or even somebody who's writing a note or email which says something but means something else, right? There might be some sentiments hidden there which we don't, we as human process very well, but not necessarily RPA process. So the accounts payable team came with their use case to us, saying that we have this massive amounts of tickets coming in for inquiring about like your invoices or payments or statements from various customers. We, as L3 Harris, have like a lot of people who are doing business with us, right? So solving that problem was categorizing those tickets and then employing the traditional RPA to automate every category out of those 9 or 10 different ticket categories. So in order to categorize it accurately, the unstructured data, which comes as a description of a ticket, you not only have to read it, but also read the sentiment behind it. Somebody might be saying it's a medium or low priority ticket, but they might be saying in the description that, by the way, you're not paying my invoice for last 3 months, and it's not good for my business. And in that case, it's a actually high priority ticket. So sentiment analysis and categorization was only possible through AI, employing AI. Obviously, we humans do really good job with it, but then human time involved with it was the one we were trying to free for them. So that use case is pretty well executed and received by the business, and it's really saving them a lot of time.
I know they're banging down your door now. When I was there, whatever it was, people are lining up by the dozens to want more use cases, which is great news. Thanks, Roopa. Hussam, tell us about your reality.
Yeah. So it's interesting when you started about the MIT study suggesting that 95% of AI projects, fail. And I on our side, we're really cautious of this. And what we did is the first thing that we made sure of is the foundation, right? A lot of questions came, a lot of requests came, and as you know, BDC, we have an advisory, we advise clients to use AI, so we should also lead and show the way. So we're trying to have a really good foundation to enable those AI projects that will come more and more with time. So one thing we did was really to make sure that it's a journey, right? And without trying something too complex, the thing we realize is that if we start with little wins and know where we're going with a roadmap, we'll get to something that makes more sense in the future. So that is, I would say, the little analogy of like doing a marathon, and then between a couple of meters, you do a couple of sprints, and then you reach your destinations. This is our strategy on our side. And I would say, to go back on what exactly we've done recently, what we're looking at is of course, we mentioned it, right? Like unstructured text is a big one. Sentiment analysis as well. We have an initiative we're looking at currently that is really interesting, because we're working currently with the legal team with a lot of automation projects. And one need that came was, hey, we would like to know what kind of questions our account managers are asking our legal assistants all across the country. And it's complex because all of those account directors, they send directly emails to their legal assistant in each region, each province. So those are all emails going in individual mailboxes. So we had to find a creative way to say, well, wait a second, you want to know this, why, right? And the answer was, we want to know what kind of questions are asked so we can train them so they can ask less questions. But now again, I can ask you, Satish, the same question as Roopa, but maybe we ask it in a different way, but it's about the same topic. It's about the same legal topic, right? So they wanted to really uncover what are those topics that are the most recurring so we can train our people to ask less questions. And this, if you think about it, would take a lot of time to do manually, like, tons and tons of emails to analyze and understand each one of them, what category it fits into and what kind of training you could give to reduce the amount of questions. So we leveraged automation to centralize and make sure that the information is ready and ready as a knowledge base for our AI solution that was reading it. And it will actually give an analysis of all the questions, fit them into categories, give metrics in terms of every month, how many questions we increased in each category, and suggest training topics for account managers. So that is just one thing that we looked at, and we said without AI, it was going to be hard to only manage with automation. So yeah, this is how we're looking at it on our side.
Yeah, no, that's great. Jesse, I saw you shaking your head. So sometime during that response, anything to add from your standpoint?
I was just agreeing, and the answer is, it's all like, I think we're all facing similar challenges, and I was just giggling because I think every business right now has literally the same challenges from an unstructured perspective and the document intelligence perspective and the ticketing, and like the themes are very similar. So I think it just kind of shows that we're all in different industries, and there's some niche stuff that we're doing. But like, if you look at that NEMRI one, for example, you could apply that to any, a military company or a pipeline company or anything. So yeah, we're all doing similar things. So it's good to share, I guess.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the things we have seen is governance as a prerequisite to using AI, right? Governance and guardrails. I'm just curious, you guys have, you all have deployed AI. You've seen, a fair amount of success with it. You're in conjunction with automation, of course. So what governance, mechanisms, guardrails that you've used already, how did you make it happen, right? Because some of our customers, truth be told, are struggling because governance is a prerequisite. So how did you make it happen? Maybe we'll start with Hussam first this time.
Yeah. On our side, the first thing that was done, as I mentioned earlier, AI is becoming more and more popular. We're receiving a lot of demands. So what we did on the IT side, we said, well, we need a centralized committee to oversee all the requests that are coming, just to make sure we're not, overstepping certain things or duplicating others. And that I think it was brilliant, and it's working really well. And of course, there's a lot of volume of requests, as you know, it's really popular. But what it enables us to give visibility, right? And I think, governance is not negotiable. Like going in production with something, especially on our side, being Crown Corporation, it's really risky to do any mistakes or have some AI do hallucinations or things like that. So we want to make sure that the right people oversee the solution. So that is one thing that we did, was creating like a trusted AI advisors committee. And that ensures that, like I said earlier, that there are some solutions that could be leveraged or already could be done with some of the tools we have within the company without going and acquiring new tools. So that's I think really important. Because I always like to say we have, food in the fridge, and we can look at what kind of plate we can do with that food we have in the fridge. And sometimes those committees are overseeing not just, the governance, but all of those other aspects alongside ethical things and where the data is stored and all of those, information that a security advisor, an architect, or a data specialist or a business representative will ask for any AI solutions. I think this is how we tackled it, and we brought a lot of visibility in what we're doing, and that was creating a lot of trust, and that gave us the green light to go forward with certain initiatives we're working on. So yeah.
So the governance committee is great. From a technology standpoint, have you solved it? Have you looked at AI gateway that we have to offer? What are you using already today, Hussam?
So that's so for us, we're using, of course, like I said earlier, we have a couple of tools internally, like Copilot, as everyone has, and we're also leveraging Databricks, which has models embedded in it. We're using currently Llama model that is embedded in Databricks, and within it, there's also ways to store guardrails for the use cases we're doing, and that goes along with trying to play with the predictability of AI, right? So sometimes we want the answers to be similar or close to what we would like as an output. So currently, this is what we're leveraging, and we're integrating with Blue Prism. But of course, we're always open to explore how Gateway would help
Thanks.
in certain use cases. But like I said, it's a marathon, and we're doing a couple of sprints. So maybe the next sprint we can try on Satish.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Roopa, how about you?
Yeah, so when we talk about governance, I think providing a structure and right decision making comes into picture, right? And we are still in infancy of employing AI in our RPA or automation journey. But overall, I would say we are looking very closely at auditing, making sure that if we are bringing AI into any automation, we are definitely looping in audit portion of it, meaning design your automation so that it has human in loop to make sure, at least in initial stages until it proves itself, you have some oversight on it, reporting to the human in loop so that they can verify what AI is making a decision for is accurate. So that's one thing we've added. We're also looking into AI gateways, you were alluding to, Satish, but haven't really reached there. We are making sure that we are looking at the DPAs, the data privacy agreements with the, Azure OpenAI, for example. That's the Gulf Cloud solution we are using for being aerospace and defense company. We are looking at DPAs, making sure that that's in place. So these are some of the guardrails which we are looking at.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, I know there are some stringent requirements, especially in defense, right? So the good news is I think we'll have on-prem versions available soon, which will hopefully make things a little easier, if that's something that you want to look at. So, all right, Jesse, take us home in this question about governance.
Sure. Broad governance. We have basically an AI committee, and we recently moved the automation steering committee underneath the AI committee, just to connect it. And I think ultimately, it's like most intelligent automation teams. I'm certainly rebranding our team to be an AI automation team, not an automation team, but an AI automation team. And you can see that in our recent event, where literally I can't even think of an automation that's come in recently that doesn't have an AI component. And anyways, the short answer is our governance basically sits underneath the AI committee. And so we're ultimately reporting up through the AI committee, which is a good thing. Our AI automation committee has membership basically from all the different departments, which again is another key point where I think that sponsorship is number one before governance. And so having a really strong sponsor, in my case, we've got co-sponsors, which is a side note I recommend, because I think for AI to be and automation to be successful, you really need both two sponsors, because one's going to be busy. And so we've got our level above the CIO, which is amazing, represented, which is good, and then a financial representative as well. But anyway, we've got membership of each of the different areas like privacy and risk and all these other things, which people kind of perceive as the bottleneck. But honestly, in our organization, I have no problem. It takes me literally a week to update my PIA to actually use AI to process clinical data for all of our new automations. And so my people perceive these areas, I think, as a bottleneck. But if you're close and you start to educate them, they're the ones who actually say that it's less risky to actually use robotic process automation and AI to actually automate these business processes compared to having a human do it. And then from an AI governance perspective, we have obviously privacy is a huge part of it, and getting the PIAs on the and from a tech stack, certainly Azure has been our force, and of course it's on-prem, and so we access it directly. So and it's confidential, so we don't necessarily need to go through a gateway, and all of our stuff's internal just because it's healthcare. So we have Amazon, Snowflake, and Azure, and then certainly there's been some development of some custom models and stuff like that, but materially everything that's in production is all API driven, which for me I like, because I like reusability.
So Jesse, thank you for that. And this can go to anybody. What were some of the challenges? I'm sure you have encountered some challenges, bottlenecks, call it what you will, getting to this point, right? And now we are talking agentic, which I'll come to later on. I see some questions already in the chat about it, but as you evolve, that agentic question is always hanging out there. But let's start with some of the basics, though, in terms of the challenges you encountered, because there are a lot of people on this call that talk to a lot of customers. Hopefully they can get some wisdom here that they can leverage right in their customer conversation. So what are some of those challenges, and how did you overcome them? Anybody can go.
Yeah, maybe I can go here. I think a lot of, and I would not say we're the only ones, but a lot of organizations face resistance, right, from different areas of the business, depending on who owns what, right? So I feel that one thing that is super important is to gain the trust, yes, of course, of the business to showcase we're delivering value, but then also to get the trust from a group like architecture, for example, to also help position the team to be able to leverage those kind of capabilities like AI. So for us, that was a must, because in reality, we had a couple of resistance in terms of like, is that the vision we have of this practice or that practice or this other team or this other team? Because a lot of things happen sometimes in an organization and it can be in parallel, right? So that for me was a must, to make sure to bring transparency and to showcase a clear roadmap of how teams such as intelligent automation teams could evolve into. So that's for sure, I think, the first thing. And in terms of challenge that I'm thinking more operationally, for us is really the predictability of AI, right? And finding the right combination of probabilistic and deterministic to solve a business problem, right? Because sometimes we throw AI thinking it's going to solve everything, but sometimes you definitely need a portion that is more deterministic to make sure to remove that probability of not succeeding in the process. So we're kind of in the middle of trying to balance those two. And I say that's challenge more on the operational side, less on the adoption side. But yeah, so I think in my opinion is, Jesse mentioned it, getting sponsors. That's super important, and making sure to deliver value, to gain trust and showcase the roadmap of where we're going, and to get that green light to use those AI capabilities. I think for us, it has been still a challenge, right? That is manageable. I won't say, we solved everything, but we're definitely going in the right direction, slowly, but surely. I would say.
Any adoption challenges for some, you or anybody else, right? That would also be interesting to address, I think. So.
Yeah, well, just rapidly on that one, like in terms of adoption, it's always, I think, in terms of architecture perspective, saying what's the best way to do things, right? Like what's the best way to connect our applications to AI or to different, and then this is where like MCP comes in play, right? Then we're like, well, we need to leverage this type of connection for it to work. So I think that in terms of challenge, as I said earlier, we're going in the right direction, but sometimes it's slowing down certain things of, hey, we can do this way, but wait a second, we need to do it in the best way possible. Make sure we leverage the right protocols and things like that. So I feel like that was one of the challenges, is to connect this ecosystem of different technology, especially when it comes to AI, and making sure we're interconnected and not just a one-time deal, but really the right way. So yeah, I think that's one of the challenges we see.
Got it. Thank you. Roopa or Jesse, either of you.
Yeah,
What
so
challenge? Yeah.
I would say, the evolution of AI in L3 Harris has been happening over 2 years plus now. So having RPA connect to AI using APIs is something we started this year, but the baseline for having that services available, the credit goes to more larger AI team that we have, and it started from the need of having that GPT kind of a chatbot in a Go or secured environment, right? And that's the bottom line for us. So if we really want to chat with it, security of the data and how we do it. So the first phase of this whole thing was bringing the chatbot or GPT bot in-house on the Go Cloud. So that happened over 2 years ago now. And it's just, since then, it's unstoppable. It's evolving. Now that we have AI APIs available, the RPA bots can connect to that. And, it's a fraction of a cost to get the data processed through the OpenAI model and get the answer back. And if you design your automation smartly, only pass the information you really need to pass to get the information back that is AI dependent. Your RPA bot is smart enough to do a lot of other automation on its own. You don't need to depend on AI for that. So have that clear distinction between what process needs to go through AI, what does not have to go through AI, and then design it around it. And that's how we started. And I think it has given us a very good success out of it.
I really like what you said, purpose built, right? You don't use AI because it's there, but based on the business need. I really like that. We always say that, Roopa, because a lot of people get enamored by AI or, have to check a box somewhere with AI.
Yes.
And so, using, and we've done this internally as customer zero, right? Use it for where there is a clear need for AI, right? So wonderful. Thank you. And Jesse, what challenges have you encountered?
The fundamental one I think that most people don't contemplate is the model deprecation. For example, with OpenAI, you've got an 18-month window. And after that 18-month, next version comes out and you have no time to basically switch over if you leave it to 18 months because the next one's coming out and you're not going to have access to the old one. So the context of building an automation that basically uses AI isn't just using the one model, it's actually making sure that your system can be validated against the next model while you're running the old model. And so then constantly upgrading. So in our case, we are storing, certainly the prompts for each of the different queue items. We're storing the model just for backup purposes. We have obviously the ability to, for example, in the context of our document intelligence automations, we're keeping the PDFs, which normally we would delete due to the fact that they're transitory records, and storing the actual data that was extracted by the model and maintaining that database of the data that the humans validated so that when the next model comes out, we can actually compare the old model compared to the new model, which is pretty important because if you're automating something that is freeing up 30 people, that team needs to know if they rapidly need to hire 2 more people or maybe 5 more people, or maybe they can free up another 3 or 4. So that conversation can't be had if you don't store the source documents and the human validated data. And in doing so, you then start to contemplate the even more complicated stuff around, at least in our case, we have human forms that are basically written. And in the form, it says, hey, month, day, year. And then the person writes down the date, the month, and then the year. They change the date format. And then in the system, we actually have to use the ISO date format as an example. And so you've got that constant worry of, do you store the version that you extracted? Do you store the version that the humans validated? Or do you store the version that basically needs to go into the system? And the answer is needs to store all of them because you need to be able to compare. And so I'm just like walking through a couple examples, but the ability to compare models, the ability to actually store the human results for future validation, contemplating complicated things like the date format, model deprecation. And then the other thing that we've been working on recently is because we've kind of transitioning into that AI lead role by marketing, frankly, and secondly, enabling AI in our automations. And then lastly, I'm working to basically create the organizational AI training. We've been asked to basically make our AI accessible to the other teams. And some of the teams don't have access to the tools and the stack that we have in the background. So we're just offering it as a service and literally creating APIs now that other teams can access and then access AI through us, basically through the API. So that's another kind of thing to contemplate, just to make it a little easier for people and software developers to access AI who may not be familiar and able to create the prompts and whatnot on their own.
Thank you, Jesse. Jesse, you said something earlier that caught my attention, which was, there's no longer an automation team, it's an AI automation team. And that's very interesting because, a lot of the people we work with, right, are, COEs, right, Center of Excellence for Automation. So what are some tips, some best practices that you can offer, that for the teams that feel constrained, that whether it's a skills constraint or a financial constraint or, some kind of constraint because they were originally the automation team and, a lot of the funds are going to AI. It's no longer, maybe there's less coming towards automation, if you will. How do you reinvent yourself and in this new age of AI?
Yeah. And I don't want to I guess the simplest answer is the number one priority for intelligent automation team, which I would argue should be starting to think about rebranding to AI automation, which we are. That's what I'm working on right now, is marketing. look at Coke, look at Pepsi, look at all your vendors that you're buying from, and look at their marketing. And is your decks, the standard kind of Copilot deck? You should contemplate making them look pretty. And so I don't want to get into marketing, but the answer is a lot of what we're doing is sell, because in some cases we don't have access to AI. We need budget, we need people, we need all these resources. And when you're trying to get funding and you're trying to get people and you're trying to get support to implement an AI solution that's unproven, you need to have a bit of marketing acumen. And so the short answer is, I think there's marketing. Then number two, quick wins. And so going out and getting access to these APIs takes literally like 10 minutes. You can set up a landing zone in almost all these tools readily. You can work with SS&C, get access to the different things. The point is, getting access for a pilot is usually relatively easy. The predominant challenge is the perception that there's risk, and you can pull in other companies like us or whoever to show that we literally have proof that the risk is less by having human augmented or augmenting humans with AI compared to just having humans or staff do it. I say humans and it's a terrible thing, but staff do it. And so where I'm leading is that getting into a quick mock-up, working closely with your privacy people and your risk people, getting them engaged early, and just having that conversation of, and to be frank, it's a simple conversation. If staff do something, they're going to make errors. If you have AI plus staff, they're going to make less errors. And I would focus on human-centered AI and make sure that your automations have a human review. And then as time progresses and the accuracy increases and you have proof of that, which you will if you keep track of the AI extracted compared to the human, compared to the what went in the system, you can start to prove out that it's actually highly accurate and trustworthy. But don't jump to that, because I think then people start to perceive that you're implementing AI and making decisions on your own, depending on the scenario. But and then the sponsorship. I mean, nothing is going to go quickly with AI unless you have really strong sponsorship from the CIO and probably the CFO, and either, maybe another C-suite, depending on what your organization looks like.
Got it. No, that's very useful, helpful insight. Roopa, how about you? How did you reinvent yourself in the age of AI?
I think Jesse put a big point in front that, you have to have leadership supporting you from top down for this large initiative, and marketing, as he said, is a key. Get on to the, almost like chats and talk show in front of your company and show that to the leadership what's the value it can bring. That's how it started, at least with us. And I said it's already more than 2 years old for bringing the AI in the house. And once the AI is in the house, then there are other avenues which opens up, like using your opening up your APIs to connect to different things for automation, like RPA, or even others like coding assistants, or many other things will open up the avenue. But that first step to have that top-down buy from the leadership is a must.
Perfect. And Hussam, anything to add from your standpoint?
Yeah, on our side, I think I see the future, and I think everything that was said is perfect. On my side is leveraging also the skill set we have within the team and build on the foundation that is really great for organizations, because we talk a lot about AI, agentic, and we're going to probably get to agentic AI, but I feel that teams like ours have been doing a lot of the things that would need to be done for agentic AI eventually. So that goes from governance to managing ROI to dealing with different lines of businesses, having approvals, having security, architecture, risk, every angle covered in terms of governance. For me, that is huge value, right? And having a team that knows how to manage workflows, that brings us close to orchestration, right? Because for us, this is where I see the evolution. I see the evolution as automation is the hands, AI will be the brain, and at some point you would need a team that manages workflows, right? That are orchestrated in a system, and who best, right, to do this than a team that already has the experience and a foot on the business side and the knowledge to do all of this. So for me, I feel that's where the evolution of our teams is going to be. So of course, AI knowledge, augmenting people's skill set within the team to know how to integrate to different platforms is crucial. But yeah, I feel like we're preparing ourselves for the future, and on our side, we haven't changed our name like Jesse yet. We still call it intelligent automation, but I completely understand that path of thinking, because in reality, a lot of our automations will be augmented with AI, but however, we'll still keep, I think, a portion that is deterministic and will have to be managed at some point. I always say that we can't afford to, let's say, launch AI to disperse money in a client's account without making sure that every time the AI is doing it, he's doing it in the same way, right? Like if we prompt GPT 3 times the same questions, we all know that it's not going to get the same answer. So sometimes keeping certain things deterministic, especially for organizations like corporations like ours, is more safe, and then keeping AI as the decision maker eventually. But all of this will blend out into a orchestration layer that will have to be managed by a team that is basic to what we're already doing right now. It's just going to be the evolution of going through APIs, then connecting to LLMs, and then being agent compatible, right? So yeah, that's my vision of how we're attacking the future.
No, I loved how each of you covered different aspects also. So some very well done, along with Jesse and Roopa. I mean, now I'm looking at the time. We probably need to set aside some time for open Q&A. But let me end on this note, right? You mentioned agentic, Hussam. So maybe we'll go with you first, right? In this brave new world of agentic, like you said, AI is not completely deterministic, or it's actually probabilistic. So, you can't rely completely on AI. What are you doing in terms of assessing the various agentic offerings in the market? Are you looking at Blue Prism as an agentic provider? As you know, we do have agents now. What do you see the role of automation? So maybe 3 questions in one, but these are all related. So
yeah, so I would say, are we adopting agentic currently? The short answer is no, right? Like we're not there yet in terms of our maturity. Of course, we still are faced with some challenges in terms of like how the architecture will look like. So that's something that is evolving day by day, and we're seeing all those tools on the market. We're seeing how a lot of vendors are also pivoting and going towards those agentic capabilities. And in my opinion, I think what we're looking at this to make sure that whatever we already have, if this can be leveraged and integrated with some agentic capabilities, of course, it makes sense, right? So one of the challenges we're seeing, of course, like I mentioned earlier, was MCP, making sure everything is connected, making sure all the tools that we have can talk to each other in the way that makes sense for the organization, and that doesn't expose us to any risks or problems in the future. So that's of course what we're doing, and where we stand at, I would say currently is experimentation, right? We talk a lot about, and we often say, right, the return on investment, and God knows in teams like ours, we talk a lot about ROI, but I would say that currently on our side, at least at BDC, we're really looking at the return on the experience, because we are testing those LLMs integrations with our automations. And we are looking at ways to connect to them that make sense and be like future proof. So that's where we stand currently. And of course, the idea is to just bridge this gap between AI and execution, right? Which is the automations that we have, and find the best way to do it. So for us, we're far, but we're definitely keeping an eye on agentic capabilities and trying to leverage and test tools that would, help us go towards our goal to do that. Because for now, there's no clear vision, I think, especially outside teams like ours, to know how to manage agentic stuff, right? Like, do we have the teams? Do we have the structure to do it? Yes, we can build one-off projects, but how to manage the whole governance of it, how to manage all the models that will be used across the organization. I think that's another thing that currently we're facing, is that if a lot of departments are using different models, well, might as well have one platform, maybe centralize things. So those are the ongoing hot topics, I would say. And if I would to guess, I would think that other companies are also in the midst of those, heated conversations of how things will look like. But yeah, long answer, but I hope that brought a bit of clarity of where we are.
Hussam, maybe just one follow-on, and then I'll let Roopa and kind of Jesse have the last word, right? So one question, though, you mentioned earlier about deterministic, people doing workflows that know this day in and day out. They're probably in the best position to actually extend those workflows to AI. So from that sense, then Blue Prism should be in a very good place, and you should you will likely consider agent offerings from us because they're built foundationally with some deterministic capability, right? So just short answer to that.
No, I would say yes. Short answer, yes. I think Blue Prism has been doing an amazing job at being implemented in different areas of different industries and making sure to in a way orchestrate business processes, right? Regardless of the way it was being done in the past, we're using UI, now we're going more towards APIs. I think the foundation is there. So in that race, I would say, Satish, I would definitely see Blue Prism ahead of a lot of different tools because of this history of managing business processes and knowing how to govern all of this. And yeah, for me, definitely, I think that the orchestration will be the future and will be something that we'll have to make sure to work with regardless of the industries that we're in. So Blue Prism definitely has a good advance, I would say, on that front.
All right. Thank you so much. And Roopa, if you want to go next, and Jesse, you can bring us home in the end. So thanks.
Yeah. So the way I view these Blue Prism bots as a task agents, and the way we are approaching is wherever we had struggled with our traditional RPA with like advanced data processing, like unstructured data or decision making, where the context is important, context awareness is important, dynamic scaling is important for that automation to perform well. That's where we are employing the AI. And so I'm calling them all task agents. And the first task agent I already talked about, another one is already in make for HR side of the house. So these task agents are going to be our avenue to start progressing in agentic world. And they will have human audit and companions along with it. So I don't call it them autonomous agents yet, but the value they are providing as a task agent itself is tremendous. So much of demand for it, as you said, Satish, that one example you put in production and then people are like able to relate it to so quickly, right? So that's the avenue we are taking. I haven't really looked at any readily available agents outside the Blue Prism, but Blue Prism has so much of a strength in orchestrating in a safe environment, like all, credential validation or making sure that the roles and responsibility of the agents are predefined, which we all have it in Blue Prism. So we don't need to reinvent that wheel. Just employ the AI for the need of it, create the task agents. That could be a step one before you start evolving into a agentic world fully, is how I see it.
Fantastic, Roopa. Thank you. Jesse, bring us home, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
Sounds good. Yeah, I saw a comment with regard to terminology, and the answer is it's completely confusing for most people. And just from a language perspective, there's certainly a chatbot, which is literally like a LLM with a prompt. Then the next level, I think, is the grounded chatbot, where you've got an LLM that obviously is connected to a knowledge base, a RAG really, and then you prompt it and you get a response from the RAG. Then the next level down is a workflow where you're literally prompting something that talks to an LLM that then goes through a series of steps of logic, which could be a robotic process automation. And to be frank, you could trigger a workflow from a robotic process automation to AI and then back to automation. And then this whole notion around an agentic model for me is like Roopa was saying, a series of steps that basically are discerned and calculated by the LLM. And so a lot of these, and that's just my personal definition, but the point is that we are not implementing to date LLMs that basically can discern their own steps. And the reasoning isn't that it wouldn't be valuable, but right now there's just so many automations that we can do that are workflow that would have so much benefit that are repeatable and in our case proven. It just makes sense, I think, to start there, implement AI, and going back to that, keep it simple, and secondly, implement things that are human-centered. Having an ability to actually have a repeatable process that uses AI, and then maybe graduating to agentic, and we behind the scenes we're heading in that direction. We've got we're playing around with N8N, we're playing around with a few other solutions to kind of get it going. And certainly, on a personal AI side, we are, definitely testing out ChatGPT, Agentic, and Manus, and all these other tools to improve our productivity, which, as a side note, are amazing. But on the enterprise side, no, we haven't really gotten anything kicked off yet that is truly using AI to figure out what steps it should follow.
Got it. Well, thank you very much, all of you, Jesse, Roopa, and Hussam. Fantastic session. Thank you for all your insights. Thanks for your continued business with SS&C Blue Prism, and look forward to speaking again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity and time. Thank you. Bye-bye.